Welcome to episode 18 of the 200 movie
Oh,
challenge. 18. Now it's been more weeks because we've
18.
missed 18 episodes. We've been, yeah, we've been doing this for quite a while now. I mean, I know we skipped a few weeks, but episode 18, we're getting close to that halfway point. It's weird. I felt
We
like we
are.
should be, well, if you look at number one, I look at the end of June. End of June is 6 months. I know, give or take, what the weeks might be, but I'm like, our
Mhm.
goal is to hit 200 films. 100 each was the original goal, but 200 total by the end of the year. Oh, excuse me. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking at when we hit end of June, that's 6 months. Our goal is, if we're at around 100, if we're above 100, we're on a good pace. And I think we're at a good pace right now. We have four movies to talk about, which will bring us up to 79 total.
Nice.
79. So if we can get
Yeah.
21 in combined, not obviously combined 21 by before June 30th or before that week when we record, then we are in a good pace. So yeah, we've had a couple
Mhm.
down weeks, but overall, we're still good. We're still good. Our goal is in,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want to cite, but we're like, okay, there's a good end goal. I think
Well, the halfway point is right there. I mean, what, 11 movies for me and 10 for you by the end of June? That's very doable.
yeah, if we can both get so whenever we hit the 100 mark officially, I don't know if we'll see the same movie. I know we joked about our 200th movie should be the same. We should see Terrifier 3 if that's free. But I would like
Sweet.
to I think we might do a fun little 100 movie recap. Just kind of look at our list, make fun of it, see what happens. But that's for the future. Right now, we have four
Oh,
movies. Soto, we're going to start off with you. We'll do a little back and forth today. I know I like to mix it up. So
yeah.
tell us about the first movie you saw, why you saw it.
Oh,
I gotta, because once you announce what it is, I am gonna throw something really out there real quick. But go ahead.
have you heard of this movie?
Nope, I just saw who was in it, and that's where I'm gonna
Barry?
go. What?
Okay, so I'll tell you, I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of this movie at all. And then I was able to, just kind of looking through, I think, what did I see this through Amazon or something like that? Um, This movie is called The Last Witch Hunter, and it stars Vin Diesel. And I will be honest with you, I'm pretty sure Vin Diesel just plays himself in this movie.
That's the point I
Okay,
want to
so
make, because we joked about what Mark Wahlberg, Jason Statham, who we've had a few times. I'm like, Vin Diesel
yeah.
is Vin Diesel. That's it. But anyhow, I just wanted to point out there, I had the same point. With the instant I saw Vin Diesel, I'm like, okay, it's a Vin Diesel movie. I digress. Go ahead, Soto.
Right, but like, so when you choose to watch a Vin Diesel movie, and that's how you decide to spend your time, you know what you're going to get into, right? So I wasn't thinking that I was going to watch anything that was going to blow my mind. I just wanted something that was, well, I'll be 100% honest with you. I wanted to watch something that was short and that I could just enjoy and turn my brain off. And when I saw Vin Diesel's dumbass face on the cover of this, I said, you know what? This is going to be the movie for me. I think it only runs at, I want to say 101 minutes, which really speaks to me. And so I saw it. I saw that it also had an actress from Game of Thrones that I really liked as well, who played a pretty pivotal character there. And I think it was like season 4, but I liked her a lot. And I saw she was in there, so I said, how bad could this be? Chad, would you think that you would expect Michael Caine to be at the beginning of this movie?
Probably not, but some of the choices Michael Caine has made throughout his career, I mean, if the money is right, he's even said it. He basically said Jaws the Revenge paid for his summer house. So, I'll leave it at that. So,
I was
no.
so all right. So let me digress and let you know what Vin Diesel's dealing with in this situation. Okay, um, he's an immortal warrior, and in the beginning it opens up and he's like this Viking dude. So I never thought I'd see Vin Diesel as a Viking, but here we are. He had like hair and all that stuff. So basically, he goes and with his Viking buddies, at the very beginning of the movie, he goes to slay this witch queen that kind of lives in this big ass tree. I guess she's kind of cursed everybody with the Black Death or whatever. And so they go in there and they all know they're gonna die. And long story short, Vin Diesel ends up like fighting the witch queen, but she curses him with immortality. And so he spends the last 800 years just tracking down witches and killing them and stuff like that, and I guess being really witty. So he always has like the order. I don't even remember the fucking what their name was, but there's an order that's like specifically there to like watch over him and stuff. And there's like 39th whatever people, like Michael Caine is like the latest one. So I'm like, Michael Caine, holy shit, he shows up. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people in this movie. Then Elijah Wood shows up as like a cleric sidekick and stuff. I was like, how many fucking people are in this movie? So I was expecting it to be a lot dumber than it was, because the premise is just, you could tell that this is just Vin Diesel just wanting to have a vehicle for himself where he gets to play this type of character, because I guess he's kind of a nerd. That's cool. I've seen Pitch Black too. I like Pitch Black as well. But you know, this movie, it's actually, if you turn your brain off and you're looking for something entertaining, it's actually not terrible. I found myself at parts going, okay, like I don't want to turn this off. Like the story is moving forward. There is a lot of lore that is like baked in there and exposition and weird ass shit. The action scenes are okay. I mean, it had a story. I'm not saying it was a great one, but it was a story that kept me entertained for 101 minutes. And at least, maybe entertain is a strong word to use, but at least I was engaged, because I've seen movies on this list where, you know, you get to the last 30 minutes and you're like, please God, just let this fucking end. I want to do something else. I don't want to watch this movie anymore. I just want to move on. And I didn't really get that with this movie. I think that the ending was probably kind of dumb, because the way that it sort of resolves itself is that like it leaves it open ended, because apparently this was supposed to be like some sort of sequel franchise thing. I don't know why they ever thought that, because it's pretty much Hellboy without any makeup. And I just was like, it kind of just ends, and then it's like whatever. But you know, overall, I thought this was a fine movie. If I was at Blockbuster Video and I saw this shit on the new release wall, and you know, I didn't have much else to watch, and then I picked it up and watched it, this would be a perfect way to spend a night and just turn your brain off. And sometimes I think that, for me personally, you need to be able to watch movies sometimes where you can just turn your fucking brain off and not have to think about anything deeper, and it moves forward. There's a story. How many times have we said it on this podcast? There's a 3-act structure and things happen for a reason. I don't care what things happen as long as you explain why. As if you set the rules, you follow the rules, right?
Correct.
And that's how I felt with this movie. I actually thought this movie was, it wasn't great, but it was a perfect popcorn movie that I'll never watch again. But I wouldn't say I was bored during this movie for the duration.
So before you get into your rankings or anything,
Yeah.
I kind of had to look this up. I'm like, I was curious if it was based on anything because of what you're talking about. So I want to read this to you, what it's based on, because you kind of said there is a
Mhm.
lot of lore. It's based on Dungeons and Dragons, specifically Vin Diesel's long-running Dungeons and Dragons character
Wow.
Melkor, who was a witch hunter. The movie was inspired by Diesel's
You're fucking
Dungeons and
kidding me.
Dragons campaigns and the character he played, which he later shared with screenwriter Corey Goodman. So basically,
Wow.
yes, this is based on Dungeons and D&D. This is basically based on D&D characters that he created and his, campaigns. And yes, they made it into a movie. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
That there's lore, but it's lore that he created. So
He's such a nerd. I mean, he made his own movie based on his own stupid bullshit. It's okay. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his nerdery, but I'll tell you what, Chad.
what?
Vin Diesel's character didn't learn anything in this movie. Look, he just basically was the coolest guy from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end. And not in a cool Marty McFly way, but in a way where this is just a Vin Diesel vehicle. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Triple X.
Long time. Oh, I
But
have a story for that.
it's I'll save that for Saturday. But
We'll
Triple
forget.
X
We'll
is,
forget.
it's not like Xander Kane learns anything. He just is Xander Kane the whole goddamn
No,
movie,
he's
and
Vin
then
Diesel. Vin
it ends.
Diesel's Vin Diesel. But yes.
Right. I apologize. He's Vin Diesel. But yeah, this I would recommend this movie. I didn't get a lot of Dungeons and Dragons shit out of it because it didn't really have a lot of the classic D&D shit in it. I don't know if you've seen Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. That is a solid ass movie. But Yeah, I didn't really get the vibe that it was. I got the vibe that he was being nerdy about himself. That definitely came across in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's
He's a
always
nerd.
admitted he's that way, and it's weird to think that Vin Diesel being nerdy, especially since a lot of his characters he portrays so strongly. Like there's certain things like his characters can't do, like Fast and the Furious and shit like that. But I
Uh,
digress. It's hard. Especially since I didn't see it. But what I guess the big question is, yeah, where does this go? Because we've had some weird ups and downs with movies that are
complicated.
just movies. Like I know last week Love
Yeah.
Hurts was just kind of the same, like fun popcorn flick. Didn't need to think much. I like not thinking in a movie sometimes. I'm okay with it.
Me too. That's how I started watching movies. I don't, I didn't want to be like, oh, like I wasn't a little kid at 6 year old being like, oh my god, the mise en scène and the film theory. It's like, no, I was watching it because it has story, and a story is what drives a fucking movie. And the less I have to think about that story, sometimes the better. And like you just said, sometimes I'm in the mood for something a little bit deeper. Most of the times, I'm in the mood for something where I could just like, I've had a long day at work. I just want to pop something in, or it's like a Saturday morning. I just want to pop something in and just forget, have a good time, have a story just unfold, and then when it ends, I don't think about it again. And so, where do I rank this? Oh, this is hard. This is
It's
really
getting
hard
harder
now.
and harder every friggin' time we do this.
I think this is the first time where it's felt hard because now I'm looking at my list and I'm like, ooh, I may need to move some things around. As my tastes kind of evolve here because I mean, I tell you what, I mean, I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Oppenheimer and Tree of Life, that's for sure. I don't feel comfortable putting it above it. I would say that for now,
It's your list, Sonny. Do realize you can do whatever you want to do. Take a look at my
I
list, and there's
know.
some. I'm like, these lists are meant to be, yes, how we enjoyed it. But part of it is it a good movie? Because obviously, like we talked about Lawrence Arabia, a classic movie is going
Sure,
to make us
sure.
enjoy it more. So I'm just telling
Of
you right
course.
now, don't overthink it too much. I mean, it is your list. I'm just telling you, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it.
True. This
Because
is
by the
very
sounds
true.
of it,
And
I
I'll
would
tell you
put
right
this
now,
over Oppenheimer, but that's me.
I I'm like 2, and we'll revisit this at the end of the year. Right now, I think it fits comfortably right behind The Beekeeper at 25. And I think that that's like its own little niche there. I enjoyed it more than Havoc, and Twisters. Um, yeah, I got to look at this whole list and kind of. Some things feel really right in this list, and some things feel like they need adjusting. Do you get that with your list too?
Oh, I talked about it last week. Once in a while, I might do it again. I think doing it every 20 helped, like every 20 movies, because as I said last week, what I did is I looked at
Yeah.
number one and number two, and just kind of just like, and I kind of went down the line, and the top half of my list stayed the same. The bottom half there was some switches. So just sit there. You're getting close to 40. Maybe after this episode, kind of do that. Just kind of
Yeah.
look and just kind of redo everything and like, okay, I'm happy with it. But that's what I did. I'm like one and two, two and three, and I kind of went down, did a few times, and even today I was looking at the middle, like a middle section of my list. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, this is a
That's
later. This
that's
is a
what's
later.
fucking me up
This is
right now.
later Chad problem because I'm like, I was happy with the top of my list, and I was like, right now I'm gonna keep it because I just did it last week. So I'm like, I'm going to hold off on it a little bit. But I feel like there might be some minor changes in the middle. But yeah, I got to. I think because as you sit on it and what your list is kind of becoming, you kind of have to change things
Yeah.
around a little bit. So, but
Yeah.
it happens. It happens. But Vin Diesel.
I mean, right. Vin Diesel, yeah, number 25 with a bullet, Last Witch Hunter. Would I watch a sequel? I mean, if it's free, I'd watch it. But to go back to the list idea, this is going to be a living, breathing thing, right? As we get movies get better and worse, I think with time, right? I mean, we feel certain ways about movies that we grew up with versus what we've seen recently. But
Correct.
yeah, like I feel like, for example, like a movie that I've seen recently, like Anora. I keep thinking about it, and I know I said I'm going to see it again. I think that's probably why my brain keeps thinking about it. But as your brain keeps watching that movie over and over again, I think it kind of secretly changes your opinion on it. So I think I'm going to take your advice and 39, 40, I'll go and take a look. I think Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies is still going to be at the bottom. If I had to be honest, I don't think that movie is going up. But you never know. I could surprisingly see Beetlejuice. We'll see.
Ooh, I need you to see this. I need you to understand what
It's
I've been
gonna
going
happen.
through because
It's gonna happen. I promise. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
yeah,
I gotta be ready for it because it might actually not be as bad as what I keep telling myself because you've told me it's so shit that I'm gonna
that's
turn it
true.
on and be like, this is gonna be the worst movie I've ever seen. And if it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, I'm gonna feel relieved, and that relief will make me
Well,
feel like it's a better movie.
it's
Does
not the
that make
worst movie
sense?
I've seen because obviously right now out of 42 it ranks 35. So like there is still some shit that's below it. It just I think because it just had higher expectations for what the first film accomplished, for what the first film
Mhm.
did, and now where
Yep.
this is at. So real quick before I get into my movie, because we're gonna forget about this, and I'm gonna share this Vin Diesel Triple X story just because it will have. Obviously, we were store managers at Blockbuster. You know, that's just what our lives were. And I worked at the Methuen Blockbuster. It was my first store manager job. One of the questions I always liked is, hey, what's your favorite movie? What have you seen recently? Tell me why I should rent it. You know, that's like a typical question. So to when Triple X came out, this was the new movie this week. I had like 4 or 5 interviews. Four of them were like Triple X, Triple X, Triple X. And I'm like, oh my God, so
Oh
unoriginal.
God.
But
Oh
my
God.
last interview, she said run Lola run, and I basically hired her.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm in. But yeah, that I mean, since you mentioned Triple X, I had to throw out there. Everyone was like, oh, Triple X, because it was at that time the new movie that just came out. Which yeah, you want to sell, but you know when I'm like favorite movies, or you know, I'm just like, oh my God, and I'm just hearing the same shit every interview, and I love Run Lola Run, so
Terrible,
I
dude.
had to throw
Yeah,
that out
Run
there.
Lola Run is good. Like that shows that you had to look for it because that wasn't an easily accessible movie. It shows you like movies, but Triple X. I mean, only thing I liked about Triple X was that Asia Argento was in it. And I had a really big crush on her at the time. But the rest of it, I think there was a sequel with like Ice Cube or something like
Correct.
that
Yep.
too.
State of
Maybe
the
I'll watch that.
Union or
I've never
something.
seen it.
No. Well,
Oh
you know what?
God, you know what? Actually, no.
Let's not. Sort of.
Oh,
This could end up being our 100th movie, but we'll talk about
um,
that because I feel like
no, no. I'm
whatever
sorry.
we
I
get to
said
the
it.
100th movie, we might want to coordinate something, whether it's hilarious or bad. I just feel like 100th needs to be
Mm,
something special. But so let me talk to you about the first movie I saw. Now I saw
mhm.
this obviously because this is a Netflix film, and obviously when you put on Netflix, it pops it up. And at first I was intrigued. I thought this was more of a documentary. I'm like, how the fuck did they make a documentary out of this? And then I realized it was more of a comedic satire of a real event. So I'm like, okay, I will still check this out. I don't know what I was in the mood for this week, Soto. But when I saw that, I'm like, fuck it. Like you, it was an hour 40, the 100-minute mark. I'm like, that's good. That's like
Mhm.
just where you want to be. Yes, I kind of would like shorter, but I'm okay with this. I saw the movie Unfrosted. Now, this is basically based on Kellogg's and Post. Again,
Oh, come on, for
this is the
real?
only real part of the movie where they were trying to become the first, figure out how to make the first pastry with like, you know, the inside the jelly, the fruit, you know, blah blah blah.
Dude,
So hold on, let
I
me
thought
tell
this
you
was a
though.
horror movie when you talked about
No,
it.
no, 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 no,
I thought it
no.
was like a
Let me
horror
tell
movie
you
about
who's in this. Let me
winter.
tell you who's in this. Jerry Seinfeld, who also wrote and directed
What?
this. Jerry Seinfeld,
Oh,
Amy
no.
Schumer, Hugh Grant, Melissa McCarthy, Jim Gaffigan, James
Ugh,
Marsden, Bill Burr, Christian Slater, Peter
I like
Dinklage,
Bill Burr.
John Hamm, Cedric the Entertainer. There's a shitload of comedians in this. And I will say this before I go. I don't mind Seinfeld's stand up back in the 90s. I wasn't I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I was okay with it. This
Yeah, I
might be a
don't
hot
mind it.
take. I fucking
Exactly.
hated Seinfeld. I thought it was one of the most overrated shows. I did watch a few episodes like everyone else. I
Oh,
did watch.
gonna get canceled.
I could care less. This is in the 90s. I did watch the finale because 85 million people did. Do not get me wrong. There were some funny parts to it, but overall, I was just like, this isn't that, whatever. So I'm like, I can push all that
I love it.
aside.
Uh-huh.
This movie does take place in the 60s. Gaffigan leads Kellogg's. Amy Schumer plays like the post owner. And yeah, so the whole idea is, this is a very comedic satire. But yeah, they're basically racing each other. You're trying to figure out how to do this where it's good, but also not killing people. And Kellogg's is obviously the big cereal company. They're winning. There's actually something I in the movie. There's something called the Bowl and Spoon Awards, and Kellogg's wins every year, and whatever, like all the big
Wow.
rewards. So again, they're trying to figure this out. And then, so Kellogg's buys 95% of the sugar, so Post doesn't have it. And so Post has to go to like Puerto Rico. So now the government's involved. Like, so this goes way fucking out there. But I do love cereal, and the cereal concept is kind of funny to me. So there was a few funny lines. Like, so they talked about grape nuts, and someone's like, well, grape nuts, it's better than what the kids ate in the dumpsters. So I don't know if
Grape
you had grape
nuts.
nuts. Grape nuts fucking sucks.
Oh, I'm aware of grape nuts. Are you kidding me? I don't know anybody that fucking ate them, but I'm aware of grape nuts. I always do be sad for people that ate grape nuts.
But the one highlight to this, because I will admit this movie was bad. But Hugh Grant is a
Oh,
Shakespearean actor who plays Tony the Tiger. Because they're going to the non-sealer route, the mascots are like, well, what's happening to us? We're important. So remember, it's 60s mascots and all that because the commercials.
yeah, of
You gotta
course.
go.
TV.
So, and it was just, he was fucking hilarious in the few scenes he was in. That's the thing. There was a lot of stars, but they're only in it one or two scenes. And there's actually a lot of more recognizable faces. But overall, I was just like, yeah, it wasn't hitting the marks for me. Like, I wasn't laughing at much of this. I was just like, oh, hour 40, and I'm like, is this over yet? There's not much
Oh,
that should tell you something. So it kind of started, I was giving it its due at first, and I'm like, let's just see where this goes. And like I said, Hugh Grant was kind of the first kind of thing that kind of popped up. I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this. And they have like a Romeo and Juliet thing because Gaffigan and Schumer, who again run Kellogg's and Post, kind of have this weird love hate relationship. So there's kind of that, and I do love Jim Gaffigan, but yeah, a lot of this shit was not funny like it was supposed to. And I think Seinfeld just, he got a lot of his comedian friends to do this. But yeah, so if this is on the wall, luckily it's in the use. It's at the end of the wall. People want to see it. They'll rent it because of Seinfeld. But overall, I'm not even going to get into it too much. It
what
was
do you
just,
think?
it
Think
was
it could
just
be
bad.
one row at Blockbuster, or would it
It
be
would be
a
because it's new
quarter
releases. We,
wall?
we would have we would have
Yeah,
the
of
eight
course.
copies, and it would have well, it depends because there's franchise, so you would probably be on the bottom, but because you have to have the full row. But this
So
this would
dumb.
not last long. I don't know how well this did on Netflix or the numbers or anything like that. And again, I'm not a huge Seinfeld fan. Even as like I said, his stand-up comedy, there's a couple parts, his type of humor. You either love it or you don't. I was fine with it. I didn't hate it. I'm not gonna say, oh, we need to watch this. And again, this is 90s where everything was fucking on Comedy Central. So yeah,
I missed it too.
I felt like Soto, this is the line of the whole review. I would have rather watched a real documentary of Kellogg's and Post getting this pastry out, the Pop Tart, which wasn't called Pop Tart at first, again, for the movie. I don't know what's true. Than
Is that what this
this.
movie's about? Pop Tarts?
Pop Tarts. That's what this is about. Pop Tarts. Because again, they're trying to get something that kids can grab and go, and so the new cereal. How do we grab the kids?
Love
So
Pop Tarts.
basically, Pop Tarts are great. I found out afterwards because somehow the algorithm, just screwed up a little bit on my phone, probably because it heard me talking. There's a Pop Tart ice cream sandwich that they sell at Walmart. And I'm like, I'm fucking curious about this. I need to go to Walmart just to see what this ice cream sandwich. So yes, I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear. It is about Pop Tarts, how they created the Pop Tarts. Again, this is satire. I can't
Story
say
of Pop
I don't know
Tarts.
what's real. The only real part is they're both trying to make the next pastry, the next breakfast item that it's easy and grabbable for
I mean, they
kids.
did.
They did, and so
Success right there.
yeah, there were some comical moments, especially when the president had to get involved because Post is going to like Puerto Rico to buy like illegal sugar or something that's coming in the country. Bill Burr plays JFK. So
What?
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I remember 60s.
Bill Burr though? That's the thing that I'm like, wait a second, Bill Burr plays JFK.
Bill Burr plays JFK. He makes a
Oh,
joke
Bill
about Marilyn
Burr.
Monroe, and then after like this pitch, he gets a phone call like, "Hey, the Doublemint twins are here." He's like, "Are they in the costumes?" And they're like, "Yes." He's like, "All right, this meeting's adjourned. I got to go take care of this." And that was it. You knew what was going to happen. So yes, if you're
That's
into
great.
a lot of these comics humor, you can tell it's their style. They're basically playing themselves, even though they're playing characters. But again, there's just a lot of humor that just missed the mark for me. And I did like,
Mm.
again, the best parts actually is Christian Slater and Peter Dinklage because they run the milk company, the local milk, the bottles and stuff like that. Again, because this pastry, if this comes out, they're not going to need milk. So it's kind of like the mob boss. So that part was kind of hilarious to me, but it was only a scene. You cannot just get me for a scene and you're like, okay, these two
No, of course
characters are
not.
great. I like these actors, and this worked fine
Yeah,
because it worked fine for the overall quote unquote plot of this. But yeah,
same.
a lot of like I said, a lot of it. So where I rank the Soto, so this is not worse than Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies. I'm not going to put it in the total shit
I
category,
mean,
but
it
it's
can't.
one
It
above
can't
it.
be.
It is one above it.
Oh,
It is literally, yes, going to be the number 38 right underneath Black Dynamite, but it is
well,
over Pro Wrestlers versus
so
Zombies.
was there no story to this movie?
Well,
Is that why you didn't like it?
no,
Like
no,
there wasn't a
the story
story?
was technically there because yeah, so well, because again, it starts off they're trying to figure it out. Kellogg's had this recipe for pastry, but some of the ingredients they're using it just made it basically not because obviously you got to think 60s they couldn't keep it a fruit thing fresh without using the fridge. The whole idea was cupboard. Post somehow stole their earlier work, was
Oh,
reworking it. Kellogg's found out they stole it, so it's this whole conspiracy thing. Then they just so there's technically yes, there is a beginning, middle, and end. But when none of it's really funny, outside of a
right.
few parts, again, I'm gonna I did laugh at a few parts. I'm not gonna say it's not like a kind of pregnant or lift where everything was unoriginal. There the attempts there, and some people might find them funny. Humor is subjective. I've said this, in countless
So this
movies.
is worse than you didn't like Lift at all. This is worse than
Oh no
Lift.
no no! Lift is underneath Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies.
Oh, okay, okay, cool.
Lift's in the this
I feel
lift is
better now.
literally lift is in the shit category. So to me, Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, I made that line because I know you
Sure.
hated it, but I'm like I was fine with it in the beginning. Yeah, I'm laughing
I mean,
because
I thought it
again,
was cute. It was endearing. It was just too
it,
long.
it wasn't even 90. Oh yeah, you know what? You're right because
It should
the
have been
first third
45 minutes.
once they started wrestling the zombies, like like okay, here we go. Then after that, so but the first like third, fourth, whatever it was,
Sure.
there was a little more
Yeah.
enjoyment. Like so, I didn't get any enjoyment. I said this lift. No, lift is 41. So pro wrestling, but basically what I'm saying is wrestlers versus zombies is like the line. I went in knowing that's a shit movie. I was
Mhm,
prepared, that it wasn't like
mhm.
quality. This, like it wasn't gonna be special effects. But you're right. Like that story just went crazy. They should have just hit the points, and they got away from it and whatever. So, but I remember how I enjoyed the first, like I said, fourth. Once they were wrestling the zombies, I'm like, okay, this is hilarious. After that part, when they try to throw in a lot of deposition and weird story and love stories, and it went down rail
Yeah,
quick. Do not get me
it
wrong. I'm
lost
not
the
saying
plot.
it's a great movie, but I'm just saying that is the line. If so, no, Lift is underneath that because Lift to me is the most unoriginal thing I've seen there. But yeah, so Unfrosted's right above this. I tried, and I was like, all right, I feel it. And again, I laughed at a couple of scenes, giggled, whatnot, but after that, it was quickly over, and I'm just like, this needs to end. So no, but to my point, it did have a story. It was a beginning, middle, end. It just wasn't good. Um, and that's sad because I thought once I saw the people involved, I'm like, okay, you know what? There's a little something for everyone, maybe.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, no. I mean, they had to bring in special ops, like a test team, to like taste these pastries, and like so they brought in Chef Boyardee, like so real like
Wow.
so I'm like, oh, this could be interesting, and it just there hit didn't hit. Like there's a couple other, you know, real people based on you know mascots or whatnot. So yeah, no, it missed the mark to what I think it could have been, and
Mhm.
having Seinfeld writing, directing, and starring in this, maybe he should have stepped back from one of that those and let someone else. Directing was fine. Maybe get some more writers. Have people. I don't know. I was vastly disappointed. Again, I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting much, because again, comedic satire about the making of a Pop Tart does not sound interesting at all to people, but I'm like, I'm fucking in. Let me just see. But overall, yeah, no, it did not hit the mark. But again, some people's comedic, they might enjoy it. I just didn't. I was
I
vastly
mean,
disappointed, and it just felt like a waste of a lot of talent that was in this movie. Even if you're not a fan of one, there's probably someone like you see, like I said, Christian Slater and Peter Dinklage, the Milkman, that they were fine. They were fine. It's kind of this interesting story. I'm like, maybe they should have gone into that a little bit more. But yeah, it missed the mark for me. So yes, it's right. It's not. It did not cross the line of shit. But I do not want to watch this again. I do not want to think about this again. I will eat Pop Tarts again. It's been a long time since I've
Yeah,
had a Pop Tart. Just
I haven't had one in a while.
yeah, I don't
Oh,
remember.
eat one.
But yeah, I'm fine with Pop Tarts. But this movie, no, no, not for me. I do not want to ever talk about this again. I know it'll come up again because of this podcast, but no, Soto, this is bad. This is bad, bad.
I mean, I think you've inspired me to go on YouTube later and find out how the Pop Tart was invented. I mean, I'd be fine watching a 5 minute video about it. I think that's probably my limit. But a dramatic comedy, like you mentioned, it sounds unappealing.
It could have been again. It could have been good, and it's something absurd. And I guess Seinfeld has a love for cereal. That's why he threw in like his 10 favorites as things in here and there. And that's great. Like I said, I love cereal too, but I just felt with
Okay.
those involved, and again, just something as silly as this, because silly can work. No, none of this hit the mark for me. So
Wow. Okay.
I would
It
like,
sucks.
yeah, it does suck because I was vastly disappointed. Because again, this is a movie I kept seeing on Netflix again because they obviously advertised and sitting there, and I was like, okay, and I'm reading a little bit. Oh, I looked into it. I'm like, oh, this. I'm good with comedic satire because I was like, at first again documentary, but no, this is bad. So let's move on. What was your second? I need to move on.
What a segue.
Yeah. Well, it depends what your next movie was. But yeah, no. Talk to me. What was the second movie that you saw this week?
So the second movie I saw this week is a movie I actually I've been trying to watch for a long time, but I just have never gotten around to it for circumstances. This movie is actually available at Blockbuster Video for a long time, and during our era of Blockbuster Video, which was 2006. And this movie is called The Fall. Have you ever seen this movie? I feel like you
No,
might
I
have.
have not. I've not seen it, but
Really?
because when you told me about it, I was like, hold on. The funny thing is, I recognize the I recognize the box art, like the DVD.
Of
Because
course you did.
I was like, oh, I know that shit. That's the only reason I
Of
know it.
course.
But for some reason, I felt like I had not seen this movie, so I was like, I recognize this. I know nothing about it because obviously it escaped my mind. I don't think there's many copies at Blockbuster. I don't think this is a huge hit, but I recognize
No,
it.
there
So,
wasn't.
but go
There
ahead.
wasn't, and it's directed by Tarsem Singh, who I've always had kind of a iffy sort of vibe with. Um, the Cell is I don't think The Cell is a great movie. My wife would disagree, but I think The Cell visually is amazing. I think Vincent D'Onofrio is really good in it too.
That's the
Notice
Jennifer
how I didn't
Lopez one,
mention
right?
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. I was like,
It's been a while. I remember seeing that in theaters, and I don't remember much of it. I felt like
oh,
when
it
I
was
came out of
very
theaters,
cool.
it was okay, but I think it was just because of like you said, it visually. But I do not remember much. I just more remember her. But yeah, go. Sorry, you didn't
Visually
want to talk about
amazing,
her.
and no, no, it's fine. We did. It's fine. Jennifer Lopez. But, again, I found it visually interesting, but I found it to be empty from a story perspective. I think that The Cell it seemed very procedural to me. I think Vince Vaughn is in it too. But anyways, with Tarsem as a director, I've kind of just been iffy about him. And so The Fall, I think I kind of was in that mindset where I was like, it's Tarsem. This is going to be some over bloated bullshit. I used to be a lot more like angsty about movies in the early 2000s, by the way, than I am now. But I decided to finally watch this. Now, this was not available for free. This was a
No.
movie that I had. This was a movie that I had to rent, but I also had points on my credit card, and so I used those points on my credit card to make this movie free. Huh? See what I did there? So I didn't actually pay for this movie. I just used my credit card points that I had built up. It was only like $4. And I watched it because it's just been on my mind. I didn't have anything else to watch. And let me tell you, I was visually, this movie is absolutely stunning. I think it takes place over 20 different countries where he shot it.
Holy shit.
It is absolutely, yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. I think he broke himself trying to make this movie, which I love when directors lose their minds or like they pour everything into a piece of art and then that piece of art fails and then what it does to them and stuff like that. Because then it's like you look back and see what they were trying to do. And but this movie, what surprised me besides the visuals was just the heart that it had. I wasn't really expecting that. The story is really revolves around this stuntman. It starts off this stuntman gets injured. It's in the 1920s, so it's like imagine early like stuntmen back then. He gets injured and he's in the hospital. Is back. He may be paralyzed. This other girl who's an immigrant girl is also staying in the same hospital. She has a broken arm. She fell from trying to pick shit up in the trees. Um, so they meet each other, and he starts in order to start passing the time. He starts telling her a story, and the story his motivations are very dark in telling her the story because he really uses it to manipulate her. But he goes into the story, and it's like it's talking about bandits and princes and magical lands, and of course that's where it cuts to all this gorgeous imagery, right? And it goes back and forth. And there's even little funny things like you're telling a little kid a story, and then the little kid calls you out on something that might be a plot hole, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I meant because of this happens, and but then you see it visually in the story too. So I thought that was really cute. Um, it was just again, it was had so much heart. The story is fucking great. It's actually about telling stories, which I find to be obviously what I love. And so it kind of takes like the love of storytelling and being a little kid and hearing a story and all that mixed with kind of the darkness of being an adult and just making a really visually breathtaking movie about just the relationship really between a storyteller and the person who's listening to that story and how fragile that bond can be. Um, the undercurrents of like sadness in the background too. But I was really blown away by this movie. It definitely lived up for the hype for me. I think that sometimes you have to watch movies in the part of your life that you need to watch them at. Like, if you ever believe in that woo woo stuff, it's like, like if somebody recommends a movie to me randomly, like a friend of mine is like, oh, you should watch Death of Stalin. I will then go and try to watch Death of Stalin because I feel like that's the universe's way of telling me to watch a specific movie. And I'm just very happy that I'm in a place where I could watch a movie like The Fall and be like, okay, cool, I can accept this and I can understand that this is a masterpiece and a work of art as a movie too. I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I'm surprised that you did not see it because I'm sure we were processing PRP for this movie at some point.
100%. We
I'm
had
sure
to
it
have
was
been.
9.99.
Because, like I said, I think
We
this is
had
what,
to have been.
2007, 2008, whatever it might have been. Yeah, that obviously was
Yeah,
peak time. That was still our franchise. Either way, um, yeah, no, I don't recall seeing this. I'm pretty sure I would have remembered this, but I do, like I said, I 100% remember the cover art. So who knows? Maybe I don't know if I'll pay for it. I don't have credit card points, but
if it's free, watch it. I recommend it. I'm probably gonna buy it. I think I've said this with any movie that I'm gonna buy, that that's an automatic top five movie. And I probably will at the end of this year take a look at my top movies and be like, okay, these are the movies that I'm going to add to my collection. And so, as I've thought about this movie, and I may think about it even more, but right now, this is probably, and now, well, right now, it's the third best movie I've seen this year. So I'm putting it behind Whiplash and Anora, and putting it at number three. It might climb higher, but I think that that's an appropriate place for that to be. So
wow, another top five movie. Funny because I remember your very first movie you
yeah,
saw was Oppenheimer, which really much fell down to 22, but
Oppenheimer
I
may still fall.
it could.
There's room to fall for Oppenheimer.
Changes happen, but that's why there are fucking lists. So yeah, no, I don't know why I didn't see
Exactly.
the fall because again, that was a time when I used to try to watch every friggin' movie that we got, and I
I
don't remember
know,
which
right?
blockbuster I was at. All that kind of. I know. Either way, so it could have just been one I looked at. I'm
It's
like,
gorgeous,
eh.
man.
And maybe we just didn't have a lot of copies of it because again, I don't feel like that overpopulated the new release wall that much. I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
But
It
that's a
didn't. I
movie
think
that
it
I
was
felt
maybe
like
one or
maybe a
two pages.
row, maybe two rows at best. I don't think
Hmm.
not a full bay, but
Oh,
yeah,
definitely not. No, it was. was kind of out there. I mean, even this one was produced. I want to say it was produced by like David Fincher and somebody else. Because they like re-released it and like remastered it and stuff. And I mean, it's a gorgeous movie. Definitely way better than Lawrence of Arabia. I'm sorry, Lawrence of Arabia is majestic and great, but this has the same kind of Lawrence of Arabia uh, shots, except with way more color. And I absolutely love the story, and I love the relationship between the stuntman in the bed and the little girl, and also weird little connection to the movie The Fall Guy, because The Fall Guy is also about stuntmen and how like they're like the unsung heroes of the movie industry, and The Fall pays homage to that as well towards the end of its movie, with trying to acknowledge like how amazing stuntmen are. And to segue into that, that's going to be a new Oscar category moving forward, which I'm very excited about. I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, it definitely is well deserved because they put their freaking bodies on the line and do not get the recognition
Yeah,
unless you're Jackie Chan. He's like the only one because he does his own stunts or
he's the
did.
only
I know
one
he
of
well
all the stuntmen.
that pretty much he does all his own stunts. So, but yeah, no number three. And look at you, you got
For
two
three right now.
stuntmen movies. I think you might have a third one. I
All of
can't
a
remember your
sudden,
list. I know it happens.
I'm due
Like you
for a
said,
Ryan Gosling movie. I need a Ryan Gosling movie right now. Like I need to
Notebook.
add a
Did you
Ryan.
say
Maybe
Notebook?
I'll see.
Notebook? Notebook? Notebook?
Yeah.
I know
We'll
I'm
see.
doing
We'll
this.
see
To,
if
I'm
it's
doing
done
this to
this
annoy you,
weekend.
but Notebook needs to be part of this challenge. I'm not saying soon.
I know.
I
I
I,
know.
th- I
I
think
know.
that's like the because I can't watch it.
There's room
I've already
for it.
seen it. Yeah, you got time.
There's a lot of room for it.
There is a
A
lot of
lot of
room.
room on this. 50 more movies to go. Actually, I apologize. 61 spots. So there's 61 more chances for there to be the Notebook. And
Well, you can go above
just
100
like
too.
Terminator
Are
3.
you gonna quit at 100? I mean, I guess it depends when we hit 100,
No,
but oh,
no, I don't. We'll keep going. What else are we doing?
other podcasts. We talk.
True.
That's what we're just talking, and eventually we would love to get paid to talk. But
Yeah,
speaking,
exactly. In Panda Express, if you guys want to donate, of course.
yeah, or any other place that gives us food. But speaking about room for growth, Marvel. I'm going to just say this right now, Soto. That I saw Captain America: Brave New World, and I'm saying this because
Wow.
I kind of want to talk about more of why I chose this than the review itself. Because you
Sure.
know, when we did this in the fall, and we were talking about doing this last year, I actually saw three Marvel movies. We both saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw the Marvels. I saw the Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania because I was trying to catch up. Because after Endgame, it's been tough, and part of it is because Endgame
Mhm.
was just such a fantastic way to end that journey,
Oh,
that story,
legendary.
2020,
Legendary.
20 whatever movies. And then COVID came, and obviously that kind of stopped a lot of movie making. And so it just, luckily,
Yeah.
I'm so glad Endgame came out right before COVID because I could not imagine what would have happened. But anyhow, so obviously as they're trying to come back, they're trying to come back with movies. If you remember, Black Widow wasn't even in theaters; it came to Disney Plus, and then they started
Yes.
doing shows. And this has been hit or miss with people. And there's been a lot of shows that I felt were okay for character growth. WandaVision was more for her becoming the Scarlet Witch, which helped for Doctor Strange's second movie. Loki is actually really fun, really good, though they're not doing a third season because that was supposed to be the whole multiverse thing with Kang, and that all got screwed up. And there's been many others, Miss Marvel, but then
Hmm.
there was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I know I'm missing a
Hmm.
few shows, and I said this about the
Didn't see that
Falcon.
one.
That one I felt was good because it wasn't just about those characters. It kind of was dealing with the effects of what happened with the Avengers. It also dealt with the fact of the blip. But more importantly, like I felt like that was a show that was dealing with the overall look of what the next
That was a
Avengers.
show.
Yeah, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a TV show.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, if
I
you
didn't know
haven't
if that's
seen
the
it,
movie.
I won't get into it too much. But Sam Wilson, obviously, at the end of Endgame, he got Captain America. Steve Rogers gives him the shield, basically saying, "You're the next Captain
Yes.
America." The Falcon and the
Hmm.
Winter Soldier deals with that because Sam Wilson has the shield, and he does not feel he earned it. He does not know if he wants it. He actually turns down the shield at first, and the government gives a new Captain America, this guy named John Walker, and who's kind of a little bit more dark. He's also, I don't want to say super strong. He does end up taking the serum on his own. Sam Wilson doesn't want to take the serum. He doesn't feel like he needs it. So there's this kind of story aspect to it, like what should the next Captain America be? But also, the one thing that wasn't really talked about, we know the blip. Hulk snapped half of existence back to life, which was great. We saw Hawkeye see his phone, his wife, and he's happy. This deals with the realistic after effects of it. It was 5 years, Soto. People lost their homes.
Yeah.
People lost their loved
Yes.
ones. Who the other halves who got
Mhm.
married. Where's the room for half of these people? Because obviously, whatever million people just came back into existence on Earth, one freaking planet. So
Yeah.
the real bad guys, they call themselves the Flag Smashers. They're like, they want to prove, hey, life was better during the blip. We just now screwed ourselves. And so it's this weird thing where yes, they are doing this by not great means necessary, but you kind of see their picture because obviously now the government's trying to take care of everyone and just life's going to shit. And obviously now the Falcons, Sam Wilson and Bucky are just trying to fight John Walker because, obviously they're how they want to handle things are two different ways. And Sam Wilson's still trying to be like, should I take the shield? Bucky's like, Steve Rogers gave that to you because you're a good person. He knows you're going to do the right thing. You don't need the serum. You do not need to be a super soldier. And obviously, we
Mhm.
know what happens. He does obviously accept it because then we're at Captain America: Brave New World. And yeah, this was okay. I don't know what I was expecting. Well, because here's why.
Okay.
They cast Harrison Ford as
Yeah.
Thaddeus, Ross, who was played by William Hurt in The Incredible Hulk, but unfortunately William Hurt passed
Yep.
away. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. And the previews show, obviously, everyone knows Red Hulk. Like this was not even
Yeah.
like a. Now the Red Hulk doesn't appear till the last half an hour, but knowing that is happening kind of just ruins the surprise. Now, again, if I would have got that ruined for me by spoiler means, whatever. But it was all over the commercials, and I was like, ah.
Yeah.
And they also, the big talk was Liv Tyler returning because the Incredible Hulk movie was kind of the one not really talked about because that's the Edward Norton one, So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
hot take, I still thought Norton was a better Hulk banner than Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo brought a more of a comedic aspect to the Hulk. I just thought Edward Norton was great and he could have done so much more,
Yeah.
but I know not many people like him. But she returns for one scene, but they made like this big return. I'm like, yeah. And I love Liv Tyler. So this movie was okay. There wasn't much to talk about. I think the main point or takeaway is the fact that the president, Harrison Ford, Thaddeus Ross, I keep wanting to say Moss, I'm sorry, Thaddeus Ross, he tells him, like, we need to rebuild the Avengers. And Sam Wilson's like, well, weren't you the reason the Avengers kind of disbanded? He's like, yeah, I was wrong. But so they were like, again, where his big question is, what if we disagree on how to handle a situation? And the president looks at him like, well, then I would like to sit down and talk about that. And as that's going on, you're like, oh shit, because obviously we know where this is going. Avengers, Doomsday, obviously Thunderbolts is a big part of that. So I feel like now they're hitting their stride and going to what they want to next year. The main plot of this is also what we found out on the Falcon Winter Soldier. Steve Rogers was not the original soldier to get the super serum. They actually did it on prisoners back in the 50s and 60s. And the first one that survived it was an African American who they threw in jail for 30 years. And Sam Wilson's like, how am I not
Wow.
hearing about this? And they did. So obviously he got pardoned because, it, but Sam Wilson brings him and brings his new Falcon to the White House for this big meeting. And for some reason, this song plays. It kind of like that secret trigger, and he turns into this killer and he tries to assassinate the president. So that's kind of the main story. Like obviously now, the new Captain America brought in the guy who tried to assassinate the president. So that's what they're trying to figure
Mm.
out. And obviously, that Harrison Ford is trying to deal with what's coming out. You can see these, and you just know you're like, there were some cool fight scenes. Overall, this set up to what's going to happen next year, and it's set up to what probably happens in the Thunderbolts movie, which I am curious because I think that's where they talk about the Avengers really get their kickstart, and you see where they're going with Doomsday. But it's tough with, and I say this is a like this is how do I say this? This is a beginning story for Sam Wilson. And even though we've seen his transition from Falcon to this is like, all right, this is now his new origin story for Captain America. And obviously, kind of like the original, what it all started, it has to start somewhere. May not be the best, but yeah, I think I was a little. I just felt like it should have been more. I felt like a lot of things were replayed. But I will admit the fact that he incorporates Captain America's shield with his falcon wings, and that's how he fights. It was a cool new fight style to see. You're like, damn, this guy can go. So it was okay, and that's where I'm at with this. Like I felt like this was the start, and the beginning's always the hardest to go or to accomplish, but I had a little bit more high hopes because I love the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I thought that dealt with a lot of real issues. I felt that did really, amazing things for the Sam Wilson character. I just felt like this movie did not move forward his character a bit, but it did set up the Avengers, so there is that. So, main question, I guess, is where I
Right.
rank this, and this is one that's in kind of in the middle of the road, and that's why I'm like I don't know where to do it. But looking at it for right now, this is probably going to be my new number 25. So right above Jay and the Silent Bob reboot, but probably underneath Terrifier. That's kind of where I'm putting it for now. But as I said earlier on, I feel like this is one that might change because I don't know. This middle section is very weird to me. And like I said, this isn't a
Yes.
bad movie. I think I expected more, but I understand that it's a beginning movie. You know what I mean? For what the
Right.
new Avengers is. So this is almost like the very first Captain America one. You need to start setting things up. I think now we know that the Fantastic Four is coming. We know X-Men's coming. We know Doomsday's coming, and there's a lot of excitement to all of this. So yeah, to me, I place this movie as the start of what the next Avengers is going to be. So that's why I think again we're going to start seeing that tide go up. We hit the lull. Deadpool and Wolverine joked about it. That's kind of a lull. People give or take the Disney shows,
Oh, it's
but
definitely a lull.
I feel like now they turn, and especially with the success that Thunderbolts had, and what's coming next year. So I feel like this is starting to rise a little bit. But could have been better, yeah. But I think our expectations for what happened in the first 3, 4 phases up until Endgame, it's so hard. People expect what happens at the end. They got to realize you need to build the story. You need to build these characters. There needs to be reason. So I get that, but I think I just expected a little bit more out of it, more growth out of the Captain America character, Sam Wilson character. So that's why it's middle of the
Right.
row, a little low. Like I said, it's not going to be the most memorable Marvel film, but compared to a lot of the shit, Marvels, the Ant-Man and Wasp, and Black Widow, a lot of that, yeah, no, this is definitely a lot better. I Deadpool Wolverine is its own thing. I mean, Deadpool's Deadpool. You're gonna laugh at Ryan Reynolds. It's a different style, but all the
I
other
enjoyed
stuff.
it.
No, no, that's what I'm saying. But everything else that I think more built from what the original Avengers to this, where there's connecting stories. Because to me, Deadpool and Wolverine, though part of the Marvel universe, still in a weird way is on its own. We'll see. We'll see where all these characters go. But yeah, again, if this wasn't a bad movie, just wasn't a great movie. I enjoyed it somewhat, but I didn't love it. So that's kind of where it stands right now. Number 25 for me.
Oh.
So question is, will you start getting into Marvel again? What was the like? Yeah, you saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Was that? I know there's
Yeah, I
so
saw
much
Deadpool
shit.
Wolverine. It's like, like the only thing that drove me to Deadpool and Wolverine is because it was set up as an inside joke for the first two movies. That the Hugh Jackman was just referenced from the first one on, and to me, it didn't really matter what the fuck happened in the
Correct.
third one because it was just awesome to see that was the case, and if it ended up being them back to back fighting while listening to like a prayer. Ryan Reynolds makes me laugh. I don't care what he's doing. There were some sloggy parts. I think that Deadpool Wolverine probably could have used some trimming in the middle and like it would have been a little bit tighter, but I wasn't mad about it. I know some friends of mine that are like, "Oh, that movie was just not great." I'm like, "Well, then yeah, comedy is subjective." But anytime Ryan Reynolds says anything out of his mouth, like I'm pretty much laughing all the time. Waiting is one of my
Agreed.
favorite movies of all time as
Oh
well.
God,
So,
waiting is yeah.
oh, it's great. Like just his witty remarks and everything. So I don't know. I mean, the allure for me with Marvel, of course, I saw Endgame and everything, and after that, it was like you lose track, right? Because then COVID happened, and everything changed, and then I stopped watching as many movies, and then movies kind of stopped, and then the Marvel movies they're coming out. There was like we've talked about it on other shows. There were just so many different things going on in different forms of media for Marvel that it's like you just lose the plot. And I
Yep.
just was like, there's too much now, and I don't want to catch up because I don't have time. Yeah, I fucking have barely time to watch two goddamn movies a week, like and do this shit. It's like now you're gonna
Yeah.
ask me, oh no, you gotta watch 2 seasons of Loki. When? When the
But
fuck am I supposed to do that shit? You know what I mean? It's like I can't fucking just watch 2 seasons of Loki to catch up on some alternate universe shit that's gonna be a call out in a movie that's 10 movies from now. I don't fucking have time for that.
well, you already saw the movie that
So
Loki kind of called out with Deadpool and Wolverine in the TVA. But I will say this. I'm going to say this because we know the other thing that I'm sad about, and obviously for obvious reasons, the whole Kang character with Jonathan Majors and what he did.
yes,
Since they had to cancel a
yeah.
lot of that, a lot of these middle shows are now just a fuck it.
Mhm.
So to me, if you want to start getting ready maybe for the Doomsday area, start with Captain America: Brave New
Yeah,
World. Yes, you might not get a
like
couple of
with
the inside.
okay,
Yeah, this was like I said. This is because this, and from what I understand, the Thunderbolts a little bit because I've been trying to stay away from spoilers. But this is now where it's going
like
to lead
resetting.
into what Doomsday is. So if you kind of, for anyone, not just you personally, but if anyone's interested, all right, I know I'm going to see Doomsday because Robert Downey Jr. returns. What the fuck? How is this all happening? That's because now the multiverse thing is pretty much gone because obviously they had to cut out Jonathan Majors. The Deadpool Wolverine storyline kind of ended it in a way, though Ant-Man and
I
Wasp,
made fun of
Quantumania.
it.
Oh my God, yes. But that's the thing. They knew this was going to end. And so, yeah, it's kind of sad because I think they could have done so much with the King character, but in a weird way because of what happened. And now they got to build quickly to a different villain. It means you can kind of start at this. And yeah, if you watch Captain America Brave New World, you might miss a few things from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Same thing with Thunderbolts because John Walker, who obviously lost the Captain America title, because of what he did in that show, is part of the Thunderbolts team because he's still a major character in this. He's got a good heart. He just
Oh,
does things differently because that's the one thing. Captain America brutally kills a guy in the show. Like he takes his shield and bangs the head in again and again. They don't show it, but you see the blood spatter. So to see a Captain, because again he had the Captain America name at that time, to see that was like, damn. But this guy just killed his friend. So he has a different mindset than Steve Rogers. But because of that, and because
ah,
Sam Wilson took it, he thought he lost everything. And they're like, listen, I got this. Maybe this different team might work for you. So he's part of Thunderbolts. So yeah, you don't need to see the show. You might miss a few things, but if Doomsday, you're looking at this like, okay, I kind of want to catch up. I would say start with Brave New World, and then when Thunderbolts comes free, you're kind of caught up because since they killed the multiverse, I think now the multiverse angle is pretty much dead. I don't think anything. I still want to see Spider Man because I'm that's one I might have to pay for. I have not seen No Way Home yet, and that's obviously part of the
not
multiverse
for a
thing.
while.
No, because Sony has the rights, so Disney Plus can't put it on their channel. So, but they
Oh,
can
yeah.
eventually when there's an agreement. So that's why,
Yep.
yeah, that's been out a while. But I obviously I know a lot of what happens in it and who appears in it. But I still want to see it. I think that would be fun. But that's another one that
Yeah.
they're losing them. They're kind of cutting out the multiverse thing. So if you want to see Doomsday, if you're curious to anyone listening, start here at Brave New World because it's basically now this is now the origin story, the start of the what's going to happen, and they kind of yes, some things from the show, something from if you remember Eternals, which was a fucking bad movie. They mentioned the celestial, the thing that appears in the middle of the ocean that no one happened to notice all this fucking years. But that's kind of brought up too. So I think that's where Fantastic Four will come in. But either way, like I said, this wasn't bad. It's a good start. I just think what Falcon and the Winter Soldier did and accomplished. Because to me, yeah, Loki was entertaining and it was a good show, but this to me did more for the whole universe than just one character. Yes, it focused more on the Falcon, but it brought in a lot of other characters and there's reasons behind it. And the fact that people return from the blip,
Interesting.
it dealt with a good story. And even though it's 6 episodes, it had a beginning, middle, and end. And I was fine with this and I enjoyed it. So, but yeah. Oh,
Hey, 25.
25. And we are now 79 movies in, Soto. 79 movies in. It feels
More
like just
come.
yesterday when we were reviewing or talking about Oppenheimer and Jim Henson's idea, man. But yet here we are, almost 5 months
Jim Henson.
later, and I
Jim
got
Henson was
40.
like the OG #1 movie right there, if I remember correctly.
Uh,
Yeah, Jim Henson had one for a while, right?
yeah, and everything's just been pushing down under the bed. Under the bed keeps going down.
Oh.
Number 44 on my list. Yeah. Yeah, no, my top five right now, Amelia Perez still at one. I got The Whale, Wicked, Jim Henson's at number four, and Bohemian Rhapsody at five. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's right. I want to see that. Maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah. Maybe you like it. Or maybe you'll be like, Chad, why the fuck do you like this movie? I don't know. But like I said, if you like Queen, you like the songs, you're just going to enjoy it. It's mindless. So, but yeah, so we should end
Absolutely.
this. We've been doing this for almost an hour now. And yeah, so another episode in the books. This will be put up in Spotify soon. And I don't know what I'm watching this week. I know John Wick keeps calling to me. I just need to sit down and do it. I was going to do it this week,
Oh
but like I said,
yeah.
I saw Unfrosted, and then I'm like, oh, Captain America, because it just came out like a day or two ago on Disney Plus. I'm like, I'm going to see the newest of the new that I can. I'm seeing this, so
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Look at you.
Look at us, new movies left and right.
New movies all the time. Oh my god. Oh, I
But
love it. It's great.
until next time, just go go watch some new movies, people. Watch new movies this week.
Yeah, just hit play. That's it.